G'day. It is me, Lachie. Welcome to the Magpie Season channel and welcome to episode 2 of the Analytical Pie Podcast. Today, I have a very, very special guest. But before we get into that, we'll give you a little bit of an intro into what we'll be talking about today. So if you're listening live on YouTube, fantastic to see you all here. If you are listening, back on Spotify or YouTube, whatever it may be, thanks for dropping by. If you are watching on YouTube, please do drop a like, as well as subscribe to the channel. It really does help out. So today's agenda, what will we be looking at? So we're going to be looking at our best 22s for 2022, our trade period recap, as well as, look at the new coaches, what we think they can bring to the table, as well as some players that we think will benefit from the new coaching regime. So I'm going to bring my special guest in today. It is the legendary Alastair Moore. Al, thanks for joining me, mate. Welcome on.
Hey, mate. How are you?
Very good, very good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, second guest on the podcast, huh? Yeah, it's going to be good fun, I think.
Right after school.
Mate, I couldn't think of anyone better, especially the chat. Well, we've spoken before and we've been speaking back and forth on Twitter for a little while. But we had a good chat one night on one of the discussion episodes. And I remember I was thinking about logging off and we ended up sitting there for like half an hour and just talking. I was like, this is the next guy. I need him on. And your insight's always really good. So welcome.
Thank you, mate. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited.
Good. Well, the first segment that we usually start with on the podcast is, just looking back at your memories of Collingwood. And so that's where I want to start, is where it all began for you. So feel free to tell the people a little bit about yourself, as well as, your earliest memories of Collingwood and what made you fall in love with the club.
Yeah, so I grew up in Brisbane, actually, and I lived there for 18 years. And when I was growing up there, AFL wasn't a thing. Like, Brisbane had their dynasty for 3 years, but that ended when I was about 4. So I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
So when I was really getting into sports, when I was like 8, 9, 10, Brisbane Lions weren't a thing. So I grew up on rugby league, rugby union, and cricket. And I remember when I was about 15 or 16, the Lions were probably the worst they've ever been. And they were just giving tickets away to people, practically free, like $10 you can sit on the boundary. It was ridiculous.
Wow, there you go.
So I never fully got into AFL until I was 17 and mum and dad were like, look, we're moving to Melbourne. And I was like, oh, we are. That's exciting. And then dad said, well, we might as well get into AFL. And I said, oh, well, we just go for the Lions. And he said, no, we'll have to go for a team down there. So we did our research and whatnot. And then turns out that one of mum's best friends is a mad Collingwood supporter, like mad Collingwood up in Brisbane. So she started talking to us about the club and she just convinced us that this is a great club. And in 2017, the year before we moved, Collingwood, they weren't the best, So we couldn't be labelled.
Shocking year, mate.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but they weren't the best. So we couldn't be labelled a bandwagon support or anything. Thought this is perfect because the other team we were looking at were the Bulldogs. Like, full honesty, we were looking at the Bulldogs. They were right near where we were planning on living in the city and whatnot. But we thought if we go for them, then it's just a bit fake. You can't go for a team that's up top because 2016 they were the team to beat. So you can't do that.
Yeah.
I said that to mum and she said, okay, Collingwood it is. So 2017 we started watching them. We were like, oh God, what have we picked here? What have we done? And then 2018 we moved down. And I remember the first ever game I went to was at the G, and I still didn't get AFL. I just didn't get it. I thought, what is the hype of this sport? And then I went to my first game at the G. We lost. It was against Hawthorn. We lost. But when I was there, I was like, okay, I get this now. This game is fantastic. And I don't remember how much we lost by. It was bad. Cox got suspended for 2 weeks after that game. It was a mess. But there was just something in the atmosphere. But I was like, okay, there's something about this game which is just fantastic. So we went through every other game, and then the season went on, and that was like, okay, this game is really, really great. But the thing that stands out from my first proper season as a Collingwood supporter is, I think it's the most obvious in 2018, but the prelim. I've been to concerts around the world. I've been to I'm not sure if you know wrestling, but I've been to WrestleMania.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
I've never heard a crowd like that anywhere in my entire life. It was the most amazing feeling. You can't describe it. You feel here. It's incredible. And when that Collingwood chant just went around the MCG, I had goosebumps everywhere. I'll never forget that feeling. But ever since then, I've just loved this sport. I've loved this club. Through thick and thin, high and low, you stick by it. because, you never know what's going to happen the next week. I remember this year in particular, we lost so many games at the start of the season, went to Adelaide, beat them, beat Melbourne, who wanted to win the premiership. So, you got to take the highs with the lows, but it's crazy how 5 years ago, AFL was not a part of my life at all. I was rugby league, loved from Melbourne,
insane.
Loved from Brisbane. And then 5 years time, Collingwood's like my favorite thing. I love it. I love the games. I love going there. I love the players. I love this new coaching staff. Love the direction we're heading in. It's crazy how time changes. And I wouldn't change anything. Looking back now, we could have gone for the Bulldogs. We could have picked Richmond, who went on to win 3 flags, but I wouldn't have changed anything because you're invested now. And then that moment comes when we do win the flag in the next 5 years. It'll be just the most amazing feeling again, like the prelim. So that's really my Collingwood story. It's a bit different to most of the people. They grew up in Melbourne or they grew up in Collingwood. They grew up with family who supported it. It's a bit different, but, I just wouldn't change anything.
Well, that was like me. I always tell the story that I was told it's Collingwood or nothing. As a young, very, very, very young boy. But that's so interesting because I knew you'd started following footy recently, but I didn't know it was that recent. But I remember being in Brisbane, we're talking 10 years ago, and watching the news every night at home, it was all footy. I went to Brisbane and I was like, I remember watching Channel 7 thinking, where's the footy?
Yeah.
It's just not, well, maybe a bit more now because Brisbane are
now
a really good side.
But
much bigger, which is good.
Nothing. It was. I don't even think the Lions would get coverage on TV because they were just so bad. They would get maybe 5,000 people there a week, if that, if they were lucky. It was bad. But
what a stark contrast though, because at the start of the century, they were probably the best team. Well, they were the best team in the country. They're one of the best teams ever, as far as I'm concerned.
100%. 3 in a row, undefeated. They were incredible.
Absolutely.
Times change, and it's just 5 years after they went on a three-peat, couldn't win a game. And I remember going to one game in Brisbane when I was maybe 8 or 9, and Jason Ackermanis is a name. He was playing still, and that was the one thing I remember was his hair from the game, and that's it. I don't remember the game at all because Brisbane probably got
the bleach blonde.
The bleach blonde hair. That's the only thing I remember because that's a look. That's it, because Brisbane were just so woeful at the time. They couldn't win a thing.
Shocking.
Yeah.
But we're not here to speak about Brisbane as much.
No, we're here to speak about the
I'd
best.
love to speak about that. Oh, absolutely. The biggest and the best.
The biggest, the best.
I guess you kind of fell into, a cult, I think, with Collingwood. We are the most delusional but loyal, strongest and loudest fan base that you'll ever come across. And there's a very, very big sense of pride associated with Collingwood. And, you and I have spoken about it many times. This new direction that we're going in is very not Collingwood. And I say it all the time. This is the most excited I've ever been going into a season. Ever. I've never felt this amount of excitement. It's always been Eddie, or Buckley. And, growing up for me, it was Malthouse, and Eddie was always there. And this is the first year, discounting last year, what happened. It was, in pre-season, where I've got no idea what's going to happen. I genuinely have no idea what's going to happen. But I want to spend
that Collingwood bubble anymore. You know what I mean? It used to be,
it's not.
People in from Collingwood come in and work for Collingwood, but now it's all these outsiders coming in. So,
well, what we've done, and we've spoken about it many times, is we've actually gone out for the first time in a long time and selected the people who are best for the job. And there is a Collingwood person that's come in, Josh Fraser, we'll speak about it a little bit later, but, people like Neville Jetta have come in, McRae and obviously Lepich and Bolton, none of them are Collingwood people. So
Brendan Bolton's the opposite of a Collingwood person, probably.
There you go. Exactly. But I want to spend the first, segment that we have here speaking a little bit about the trade period. We'll do a little bit of a trade period recap, give our thoughts on what's happened, and see where it takes us going into next year. So obviously we've brought in Kruger and Lipinski already, which I think are 2 fantastic gets. And then we've lost Josh Thomas, Main, Greenwood, and possibly, which we will touch on, Jordan De Goey as well, which, is obviously a big miss. However, it's something that we have to leave in the hands of the club and hope that they make the right decision.
It's something that you shouldn't want anywhere near any organisation, especially Collingwood. But besides that, you don't want an individual like that, I think, near these players, because he's been given 2015, there was an incident, 2018, 2020, this year there was an incident, and now you've had this incident in New York, which, we can't say much because, it's legal proceedings.
Of course.
I don't think Collingwood should bring him back personally.
Yeah.
I think his time has come. I don't think there's any argument people can make to say, oh, give him another chance. He's had 3. Like, what's the expression? Baseball,
3 strikes and you're out, mate. 3 strikes and you're out. Yep, I agree. And, the thing for me is we've had this huge cultural shift in 6 to 12 months. Maybe 18 months ago, he might have gotten away with it. But I'm exactly the same boat. I tweeted about it. I said it. I don't want people that do these types of things representing me as a member. Being a role model for children, those types of things. And, I'm not going to comment on Geordie. I don't know Geordie. But ultimately, all I care about is what's best for Collingwood. And I'm sure everyone else is the same. So we'll leave that there. But, obviously we've brought in 2 guys who, could slot straight into our 22. And obviously us 2 are going to give our 22s. But what do you think about Kruger, Lipinski, and obviously Nick Dacos is coming in too? Yeah, give us your thoughts.
Dacos. Kruger, we haven't seen much of Kruger in the sense that he's been in and out of Geelong's side a bit, played a lot of VFL though, but you can't, there's a big difference between VFL and AFL. We see that a lot. G'day, TJ. We see that a lot, but I think Kruger, if we need to build him, that's all I'll say about Kruger, because I don't think he is AFL ready yet compared to a list that we have we have some capable forwards, and Kruger wants to be a forward. So, build him up a bit, and then maybe halfway through the season, he'll be a great forward. And then Lipinski, I think Lipinski is going to go straight in to the following position with Tay and Brody. I think he'll be top 5 in Copeland. I think he'll be one of our best players for the season. Maybe that's some big calls in there, top 5 Copeland straight away, but I just think he is a talent.
Oh, those absolutely.
Highlights from that the Bulldogs had, and I think Sweet posted them.
Mate.
Ridiculous.
Just classy. He's a good user of the footy, which is what we need. We need inside players, don't get me wrong. And I think he can play an inside role and an outside role. He's got the body for it. But, he's also got the ability to use both feet. He can kick goals. I think he's got a lot of room to develop. I said we need more players in that. And Decker mentioned it a while ago on the radio. We have a gap in our list of players, between that 23 to 26, 27 age bracket. And we brought in 2 guys that are going to go straight into that, as well as the young kids that are coming through, as well as the guys that we already have there. So, yeah, I agree. I think Lipinski will be a walk-up start. I think he'll play every game that he's fit next year.
100%.
And, Krugs, again, very exciting, 22 years old. We don't know much about him, but the sky's the limit with these guys. And the one for me that really excites me, and I know we brought him in halfway through the year, and I speak about him a lot, is Ash Johnson. I'm very, very, very keen to watch him play.
I think I said to you on the last one you did, I think he will be in the starting side straight away. And I think if he didn't injure his finger, was it last year? I think it was his finger.
Yeah, correct. Finger.
Yeah, if he didn't injure his finger, he would have been, I think, playing the last 2 or 3 rounds. I think he was going to go straight in. They would have given him a couple of weeks. They did with John Noble, gave him a couple of weeks. And, he was in straight away. I think, Ash will be the same. He's had his preseason. It's going to be another preseason now, a bigger one. And it's going to be incredible to see him grow into, I think, the key forward we need. Yeah,
I completely agree. And he's got so much in his locker, which is why I'm excited to watch him play. Watching his highlights for Sturt, I know they're only highlights, but he kicks goals on the ground. He seems really mobile. He can jump. He's got Jeremy Howe type hops. I couldn't believe it when I saw it, because he's only about, I think he's 193, 194 centimeters. But honestly, we've addressed that huge issue that we've had of key position players pretty well in a 12-month period. So we really need to hope that one of these guys will flourish. We only need one, really, one or two, and we're looking good because Coxie's probably on his way out in a year or two. But again, these guys are so young, so it's really exciting to see what they can bring to the table.
100%. I think it's going to be a good season. We might not come top 8, but I don't think that's our goal next year. I don't think top 8 will be the goal. It'll be a nice added bonus, but I think the team's goal will be to develop a side that can go on to do a Richmond, win 4-3 or win 4-5, whatever it was, 3 and whatever it was, and then do the Lions like we talked about at the start, 3 in a row, or Hawthorn 3 in a row. Build this dynasty around this young side. I think that's what the goal will be.
I spoke to Luke about it on the last podcast, and I'll just quickly, get you to give your outline of how do you think next season is going to go. So do you think we're going to be consistently, average? Do you think we're going to start really well, end really well, start poorly, et cetera, et cetera? How do you think next year pans out?
It's tough. I can see going two ways. I can see us being a Fremantle type, from, was it last year maybe they were average, half and half. But then I can also see us doing a slow start. We might lose 5 or so games, 6 or so games in the first 6 rounds, let's just say. We might lose everything, or we might go half, like 6 out of 12. But I think at the end of the season, once the bye happens, we'll flick a switch and just go really well at the end. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think the second half of our season is going to be really strong at the second half. But the first half, I'm not getting my hopes up too much. If we play the likes of North Melbourne, that's a bit mean to North fans, but play the likes of North, maybe Carlton even, we'll get a win there. Gold Coast, I don't think Gold Coast is building enough. We could get a win there. But, if we go up against a Richmond or a Melbourne in the first week, I don't think it'll be as close as we would like it to be. But I think that's fine, If we get the likes of Dacos and these young talent in there facing these incredible sides, then that's pretty much all you can ask for right now.
Yeah, give him experience. And I think it might go a little bit the opposite. I think we're going to start like a house on fire.
Yeah,
I think we're going to start like a house on fire, because we've got a new coach. No one knows what our game plan is going to be, how we're going to come out, what the team's even going to look like. Like doing in my 22 was, and I've done it a few times on Twitter recently, but this one was really hard. Like I had to think, who's going to play? Like I've got no idea. So I feel like we'll start really well, and then we might see us fall off towards the end of the season. But it could go either way. Like we really don't know. And I love Tom's comment here. Nick Dacos is definitely something to get excited about, and I am very, very excited. Pommy and Oz,
he's a rookie that's going to come straight in. It's just
I know. Like he's a walk up, and he's so talented. And Pommy and Oz was doing his Phantom draft a little while ago, and he was speaking because he follows a lot of the draft talents and prospects, etc. And he said like, this kid is just something special. Like he's just completely different. I've watched a couple of his games. We've heard about him, but until I'm there round 1 next year and I'm watching him, we can't say, you can't know what he's going to be like. But I just got this feeling about him that makes me smile every single time I hear his name.
Yeah, the highlights we've seen from his limited games he's played the last 2. Get me and Darcy.
Get Darcy more in apparently.
Yeah. From the highlights we've seen from his season this year, we played a couple of games in 2019. It's incredible how good he was already. And like Buck said at the start of this season, if he was eligible to play, he would have played round 1. And he was he 18 at the time? He would have been 18 because he's older than everyone.
Yeah, he was. He's born. I think he's born in February. I think he was like a week or a few days off being able to be drafted last year.
Yeah,
so he just missed out on the draft.
He would have been a walk-in straight away. So I think that's giving the talent that he is already. And that's announcing the talent.
When you're ready, I've got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
Before we pull out our best 22s, and I haven't told you these, so you might get a little bit surprised.
Okay.
They're nothing crazy, don't worry. First one, who has their breakout year this year?
Can I say 2 people?
Go for it.
Isaac Quainer and Bo McCreary.
Isaac Quainer and Bo McCreary.
I think Bo is going to... Isaac, he's been on the climb since he came to the club, really. And he's at his peak, I think, and this is going to take it to another level next year.
Yeah.
But Bo, How many games did he play last year? Like maybe
I
10
think
or
like
11, let's just say.
yeah, something like that. He had the hamstring, which kept him
Yeah.
out for 6 or 7 weeks.
But I remember seeing a graphic that Geelong put out about Tom Hawkins and Bo McCreary's name. I think it was tackles inside 50 or something, or marks inside 50 or something like that. And Bo's name was there. And this
Tackles
is a
inside
rookie.
50.
Yeah, tackles inside 50. His name was there at like number 3 or 4. And I thought, what the heck? You're this young guy who's played maybe 5 or 6 games. And it's ridiculous how he's already become this talent. I think next year, I think he'll come back from this Hemi with a point to prove, like, yeah, I'm as good as I think I am, as good as everyone says I am. Now let me prove it. So he'll go straight into the side. He'll come out and just be incredible, I think. So Bo McCreary, besides IQ, I'll say Bo. I'll also say Pat Lipinski.
Okay, well,
there's 3
Pat
for you.
Lipinski as well, you reckon? Yeah, okay,
There's
done.
3.
But I love that video of Bo where he spins Clayton Oliver and gives him a don't argue and kicks that goal where we beat him on Queen's birthday.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, this kid's quality. And
Clayton Oliver's
there's a couple games that he had.
Players.
Oh, so strong. Strong as, and he just brushed him off like he wasn't even there. Incredible. Yeah, he gives me real Swanee vibes. Bo.
That's it.
I like him. I like him a lot. Okay, next one. Who do you think changes position this year, and where do they go?
Okay,
it's a bit of a tough one. But obviously, like last year, we had Will Hoskin-Elliott, who moved, from the half forward line to the wing. Is there a player that you think could change position, and where would they go?
Well, I've got one in mind. I'm just trying to think of how it'll work. Like Pendlebury, to me, his time in the middle of the ground is done. I think he's a half back this season. So could you maybe just swap IQ and Pendles around? Put IQ in the middle, put Pendles in half back, and then I think IQ. I said this before to you. I think IQ is one of our best kicks of the ball, and that's what we need right now. We need someone in the midfield who can kick a ball into the forward 50. So yeah, I'll say swap those two. Pendles goes to the back line. Quainer moves up to the middle of the ground some more.
Very nice. I like it. You? And I'd probably say the same. I'd say, and it'll be reflected in the 22 as well. Pendlebury moves out of the midfield, and I'd say side bottom probably will as well. Those two for me. I think side bottom will move it into the half forward line or maybe a half pocket.
My side bottom opinion for the best 22 might be a bit controversial.
Yeah, I'm not keen for Max Wills to see my best 22 on Twitter. Him and I have had a couple blues over still side bottom, but I've included him. Spoiler alert. He's
I've included him too, but I don't think people are going to be happy where he's included.
Okay. I'm trying to think of another one that I might not expect to move. I think maybe Will Kelly might move to the back line as well. I feel like we might see some Will Kelly as a full backman. It just depends on Jordan Ruffhead's body. How's he going to hold up? He's hardly missed any footy, but he's starting to get, he's sort of going on 31, I think now. I think that's the main position now that we need to look at and say, okay, who's going to come in? So I know Will wants to play as a forward, and I've loved what he's done as a forward in the VFL especially, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see him in the back line.
Yeah, and I tried it last year too, so maybe if a new coaching panel...
I don't know. He's so unlucky.
Yeah,
he's so unlucky, Will, though. Like, he did that. He played that practice match and did his collarbone, and then he played against Hawthorn on his debut and broke his elbow. He's just so unlucky.
It's really rough. But I think, with the Lipper coming in as defensive coach, I think could do wonders, He could really make Will Kelly a key defender for us. We've got Darcy Moore. And like you said, Roughhead's getting up there in age. Crisp has been moving down a bit. Could move up the field a bit. It's hard to know. So I would love to see Kelly just get a proper crack at it.
Yeah, have a couple games in a row. Give him a couple games in a row. Next one. This is the last one out of the quick fire questions.
Okay.
Who benefits from the new coaches the most and why?
All right. Does it have to be one person?
You can have as many as you want. You can have as many as you want. I reckon keep it to 3. I reckon the top 3 that you think will benefit the most from new coaching.
All right, I'll say this might be a weird one, but Brodie Grundy, I think.
He was my number one. I had him
Was
as my
he?
number one.
He's
Yep.
not my number
I had
one.
Brodie
I've got a
Grundy as
number
my
one in
one.
head, but I'll say Brodie Grundy for number two because I think with a new coaching staff, they can, properly build him to be something. Because he's been great. He's been a great ruckman for the past 2 seasons, but compared to his standards, he hasn't been. If that makes sense.
I agree.
Now, if you put him into the Gold Coast or Fremantle, no offense to any of those teams, but you put them in there, he'd be incredible. But for the standard we've seen of him, it's been downhill a bit. But with this new coaching staff, it gives him the chance to redo himself and rebuild himself again. But for number one, I'd honestly say Mason Cox.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think they would have kept him unless Craig McRae's like, yeah, you can make this guy something. And the fact that they've worked together before, there's something there. I think if anyone can make Mason Cox one of the best key forwards in the AFL, which I think he has the talent to do personally, I think he can definitely do it. I think it's Craig McRae. Craig McRae built the foundation that is Mason Cox. I don't think anyone's developed it since he's left, in a sense.
Yeah.
He's gradually gotten better and he's had help. But imagine if Craig McRae was there in, 2016, 17, 2018 again, 2019. Makes you think.
Right.
It makes
You're
you
so
think.
right. And like that thing where you say like, no one's developed him since. I so agree because I remember even when he was playing good footy, and he's obviously got a bit of an ego, Coxie, and he's a bit of a character, and I love him for that. But I don't know if Bucks would have. And I remember every time Bucks used to speak about him, he just used to have a little bit of reserve in his voice.
Yeah.
Like he'd say, he had a great game, but blah blah blah, or he did this really well, but etc. etc. So I don't know if Bucks ever really took him under his wing, properly and said, we believe in you, blah blah blah. But I think you're right. I think you might be right there. I've got a couple as well who I'll bring into the fold. I've got Will Hoskin-Elliott. So I've got Grundy as my number one. I've got Will Hoskin-Elliott at number two. And I've got Braden Maynard at number three. Those are my three.
Maynard. Why Maynard? Do you think he's going to move Maynard around, keep him as a defender?
I think he could become a bit of a hybrid player. I reckon Maynard's been one of the guys that's really been challenged to go away. I remember when Fly did his first interview, he said, there were guys that really took ownership of, what they wanted to do over the offseason and what they wanted to come back as. I feel like he's gonna absolutely tear it up next year. And I love that he's come out and he's made a public statement. He said, I want to stay at Collingwood. I'm a loyal person. And I'm sure Darcy Moore will follow in suit. But I just love Bruzzy. Like, I love him to bits. He's 24 years old or 25 years old. He's going to be one of the leaders of the group. Love his aggression. And Will Hoskin-Elliott, the other one. I say that because, and I got ripped up for it a little bit the other day, I feel like he can play that, that Bailey Fritz role for us. As the extra tall / small, a bit of a hybrid forward.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him move back into the forward line personally, but I think he can play on the wing as well. In my 22, we'll speak about how he can rotate between different positions. And I think they'll use him a lot better than Bucks did.
Yeah, I agree. If anyone can make Will Hoskin-Elliott 2018 levels again, it'll be Craig McRae again, Everyone keeps saying about Craig McRae, he develops players. So,
and we've got Josh Fraser in as well, remember, as our development coach. So that's another really, really good name. Like, everyone speaks about how well he's done in the VFL. Anyway, I think we should move on to our best 22s, which I think is the most exciting segment of today. This is something that I've been putting quite a lot of thought into. So I will let you go first.
Okay. I'll go first.
And take it away, mate.
I'll just jump straight off the bat and say, like I said at the start, Jordan De Goey is not on my team. I've written him off. His behaviour has completely ruled him out of, I think, any AFL contract, and I hope the AFL makes a stance and says you're not playing anymore. Just wanted to say that now. I hope they do that. I hope Collingwood says the same thing. I hope AFL says the same thing. He should not be on any AFL list. It's enough of De Goey. But that being said, I've gone for a 22, which might be a bit controversial. It might be a bit, young, but I'll give it a read anyway. So we'll go from back up.
Go
Is that
for
what
it.
we want to do? Back up. We'll go
Yeah,
defenders
we'll
up
start from the
front.
back line. Start from the back line.
So back line, I've got Maynard, Roughhead, and Crisp. Nothing exciting there. Same old, same old. Again, half back, Jeremy Howe, Darcy Moore, and Scott Pendlebury. Now, I've put Darcy and Pendlebury together because I don't think Pendles will be captain next year. I think he's going to want to spend the last 2 seasons helping the next captain. And in my head, it makes sense putting him next to the next captain, which is Darcy Moore. You see what I mean there?
We both agree on that, don't we?
Yeah, you see what I mean there? Having Pendles next to Darcy, a bit of foreshadowing, just something that I want to see. But yeah, that's my defense. Maynard, Roughhead, Crisp, Howe, Moore, Pendles. I think that's a good defense. It's solid, it's strong. Move to the centers. I put Josh Dacos, and then I've put his brother Nick. You know, put the Dacos brothers together, let them carve up. You know, I'm sick of seeing Josh run around up the forward line. Put him in the middle of the ground. No more of this forward stuff. No more.
Yep.
Stop doing that. And then for the final, the centers, I've got Quainer. Like I said, swap the 2 of them around. I just put that in my head then. And then for half forward, I've got Bo McCreary, Brody, and Ollie Henry. I think you can keep that there. And then for forward, I've got Ash, Darcy Cameron, and Jamie Elliott. I think that's a solid forward line. I want to see Ash in there straight away. I think he might not be the key forward we need straight now, but you put him on the side at least in some capacity, he will get games, and that's good enough. Get him developed now.
Yep.
And then for the foals, I've got Grundy, Taylor Adams, Pat Lipinski. I think that's how we're going to get the most out of Grundy with Tay and Pat there. I think what Grundy's had to work with the past couple of seasons has been a bit too slow in a sense, a bit too old, not fully there yet. But I think those two, with Tay and Pat, I think Grundy will shine there. And then for the interchange, I've got Trent Bianco, Jack Ginnivan, Steele side bottom. Sorry, Steele. And this, I was torn on this last one. I sat down, I looked between Kruger and Cox. I thought best 22, I'd have Cox in there. But if we want a strong 22 to go towards the future, to develop, and a best 22 to start the season off, you've got to go with Kruger. I think he just edges Cox out because we're going to build around him. And Cox, I love him to bits. He's probably my favorite Collingwood player on the list. I love him. So it hurts me to say this, but he has to prove himself again in a sense in the VFL.
Yeah.
And I think he would have done that if the VFL went on this year. But unfortunately, due to COVID, it didn't. So he has to, unfortunately, go there again. And then I don't know if you want to sub, but I'll just say for the sub, I think Cal Brown. He can play pretty much anywhere, I think. You put him anywhere, he'll make it work. But, yeah.
The comments are going nuts. They're saying, where's Lipinski, where's Kruger? But then you got to him eventually.
I got to them eventually. I didn't want to put – I think Lipinski, like I said at the start, he is going to come straight in and be with Grundy and be with Tay. I don't want to see him playing a half forward on the wing or being in the square because, that's what Nathan Buckley would have done. Let's be real here. He would have put Lipinski in the square. So I'll just develop a bit more up forward, even though when you play midfield, I get that. But I want to beat him straight in there, see him carve up the midfield, see him dominate with Tay and Brody, because then you can build those three for years. The oldest there was the oldest in that side would be Tay, wouldn't it? The three of them, Tay would be the oldest.
Tay, 28, yeah.
And then Grundy's there till 2020. I don't even know, 2026, 2027. So you've got that for a long time. Lipinski's there till 2025, I think, was the contract. Maybe 2024, but still, that's a long time. So that's what I would do. That's my 22. That was hard. It's actually really hard to make 22 with this list.
Proud of.
It's really hard. It's so much
mate, when you sit there and do it, it's very difficult. Yeah.
I had in my head Tyler Brown will be in there because I think he's talented. You can build around him, build him up some more. Like Finn McRae, damn, I felt so bad not putting him in there. But
That's true.
Now that you've got Lipinski, you've got Dacos coming in. What role does he play? I've got Bianco, who is, I think, a captain of this club one day. It's like, what role
I
does he
agree.
play?
Reef McInnes in the twos as well, who we still
I
haven't seen.
completely forgot about Reef. Like it was really
Yeah.
difficult to pick a 22. You can go with experience, you can go with youth, or you can combine the two. So I've tried to go with the younger side with a bit of sprinkling in of experience.
Yeah, I like it. I like it very much.
All right, let's hear yours.
Speaking of which, I better get mine out. This took me a long time to do. I put quite a lot of thought into it, but I think I've come up with the team that's similar to yours. It is similar in many positions, but I think it's also got a lot of balance. So here we go. So we'll start from the full back line. We have Maynard, Roughhead, Jeremy Howe. I think that's pretty standard. I think that picks itself. They're three the first guys on the team sheet every week. Half back line will be Crisp, Moore, and Pendlebury. I've got Pendlebury there as well. I've got Crispy on the half back line too. I think his run and carry is really valuable. I think he can rotate into the midfield as well.
100%.
And of course, Darcy Moore. Darcy Moore, the future captain next to the current captain. The midfield. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. I've got Steele Sidebottom on the wing. I've got Josh Dacos on the other wing. And then I've got Taylor Adams as the centre.
I think I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, I've put Sidey on the wing because I've always said and I've always thought his best asset, especially now, I think his kicking's got a little bit worse over the years. His best asset is his running ability, his capacity to run and, outdo his opponents. I think back to the prelim where we did beat Richmond, we won that game because of Steele Sidebottom. He was just everywhere. He was everywhere. They couldn't stop him. Richmond haven't put a tag on Sidebottom for 3 years, though. He chops them up every time. But yeah, I've got him there because I think that's what he can do. If he doesn't show up this year, then he's done for me. So this is Sidey's last year to show that he's got some value.
I agree with that.
The forward line, the half forward line. We've got Ollie Henry, Myercheck, and this is a controversial one that I don't think people will like. I've gone with Will Hoskin-Elliott as the other half forward. So I'm a big Hoskin-Elliott fan.
That's fair.
The people listening know. Now the full forward line, I've written something different here, but I've rethought it as I've been doing it. I'm going to go with Beau McCreary, Ash Johnson, and Jamie Elliott. So there's my three as the full forwards. Following the ball, we'll go with Grundy, of course. I think that just picks itself. Nick Dacos, Lipinski. Again, as you said, Pat Lipinski, he's a walk-in. He goes straight in. No questions asked. Of course, Nick Dacos, exactly the same. Now, the interchange bench is a little bit interesting, I think. I've gone with Darcy Cameron, Isaac Quaynor, Trent Bianco, and I'm going to put in... I genuinely couldn't pick the last person. Like, I was the same as you. I could not pick someone. I'm going to go Finn McRae. That's the last one.
Fair.
It's between him and Kruger. So whoever plays better in the preseason, they go in there.
Yeah,
and if I had a sub, I'd go the same. I'd go Cal Brown. So that's my
a good
22.
They're pretty similar. Like, honestly,
Very
besides Will Hoskin-Elliott, like they're pretty similar. Will Hoskin-Elliott, I think he's a divided player right now. Half the club loves him, half the supporters don't like him. It's tough.
Hang on. Oh yeah, I had Quaynor on the bench. I literally just blanked out and missed everything that you said because I was thinking, did I miss Isaac Quaynor? But I had.
No, you said him. You said him on the bench.
Okay.
I honestly was thinking because you went back, no Quaynor, half back, no. I was like, where is he? And then Sen's like, okay. And then you said,
he's definitely in there.
Yeah, I thought you were going to put him as a follower. I thought, that's interesting. So like, who knows? But yeah, I think that's a great 22 right there.
A good question, and I'm sorry to the guys that are in the YouTube live. Obviously, we are recording this for audio as well, so I'm trying not to answer too many questions, but I do see you all. Thank you all for being here. This question, though, is really interesting from Tom. Is John Noble in our best side? See, I don't know. I don't know.
I had him there up until, what time did we go live? 7:30. I had him there till 7:25. Yep. And then last minute, I thought no. And I put Jack Inovan in instead.
Like, so it's really close, isn't it?
Yeah. I had him there. I had Josh Josh Dacos playing more of a defender role in my head because I wanted John Noble in there, but I thought that doesn't work. He's got to be a centre. And then I put him on the bench, and then I thought, but then you're taking a young talent in Ginnivan who's proven himself last year to be quite decent.
Yeah.
So I
mean,
to answer the question, I think no.
I'm scratching my head already. And it's so good for McRae as well, because he's going to be scratching his head too, I'm sure. And over the preseason, these guys are going to want to prove themselves. But I think Ginnivan's knocking on the door. He's right there. Obviously the Brown brothers. I think Cal, Cal gets a lot of stick, but before he did that shoulder, he was playing pretty good footy through the midfield. So I think he's going to be there as well.
He played at the club before he did a shoulder.
Yeah. I think Ty Brown's there too. I think he's going to, he'll be pushing. Reef McInnes is the one to watch, guys, for the people that are watching.
100%.
Alongside Finn McRae, those two are absolute quality. I've heard some really good things about Reef.
But I honestly thought Reef was going to debut this year. I really thought he was going to come in that last game against Essendon. Really thought he was going to pull the trigger on him then.
Yeah.
I was so surprised when that team list got released and Harvey didn't put Reef in there. I was like, what are you doing?
Well, because that's what Harvey was doing, wasn't he? He was just picking the kids and saying, go out there and do the best you can.
Yeah, prove yourself. And I was shocked when Reef didn't get one game. But I agree with you. I think Reef and Finn McRae, you could really just take out Pendles and Sidebottom because, let's be real, I'll be honest, I don't think Pendles and Steele will be there when we win that flag. The next flag, I don't think they'll be there. So you take those two out and you put those two in, I guess, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. You're right. And, it's just, it's a good problem to have as well. It is a good problem to have. And the more competitions of spots there are, the harder these guys are going to train. The more they're going to want to play. I personally want to watch a lot more VFL next year. I was watching it this year live because they had it on KO every now and then. So I just pull it up and watch it. But I do want to go to some games next year. Because we got such a talented team in the VFL. Some guys in there, guys that I've forgotten about even now. Will Kelly. Surely he's going to be pushing. Liam McMahon. Mark Kane. There's so many.
I honestly was going to put Kane in my 22. I had him there. I had him there because I think he's really good. I think he's actually a really, really good player. He's just due to, I think, poor coaching. Every time he goes to play, he's going up against the opposition's best forward. I don't see the logic in that. I don't know if Bucks was throwing him in the deep end and see if you can swim. I don't know what the logic was there, but it's how the cookie crumbled, and he was stuck with the opposition's key forward. I was really tempted to put him in there, but at the end of the day, it's a question, who does he take out?
I think it's really close. Could he be the roughhead replacement? Could he be? Because, Buck seemed to rate him as that before he left.
Well, that was the position he played. When Roughhead got injured, I think it was concussion.
Concussion, you're right. Yeah.
He came in for the 2 games, I think it was.
But I feel like he got stitched up, like you said, with the coaching. I can't remember who he played on. On debut, he played on, I think, Jack Darling.
Yeah.
From West Coast. What a stitch up. You've put him on one of the best forwards in the comp.
Next week he had Fremantle and he had, I forgot the player's name, but he had
Taberner?
I think so, maybe. I forgot who it was, but he kicked 5 against him. And I just thought, Bucks, he's kicked 3 against him. Swap it out. Don't just leave this kid there struggling, clearly, and his confidence is going to just go to shit. It was really rough to just see Mark Keane go down like that. Yeah, I don't know. I agree. I think Keane's a great player. He just needs to actually move into it more, debut at AFL level, but don't go against, like you said, Jack Darling, or don't go against the opposition's best forward. Seems pretty logical to me. I don't know about you, but it seems like
100%. But because in a fully fit side, you've got Roughhead and Moore there, so they take the 2 best. So say we're playing West Coast, those 2 are going to take, Josh Kennedy and Jack Darling, or Oscar Allen, whoever it's going to be. The problem is for me that I see with both of our 22s is they look fantastic on paper, but we need to keep these guys fit. We need to keep them fit. I don't remember the last time we had a fit 22. And it always seems, even at the business end of the year, and this is why I think Richmond won all their flags, is because they just seem to get their players back at the right time. Like even us, we lost Darcy Moore. You know, he was touch and go for the grand final. He almost played. Like if we had Darcy Moore in that grand final,
that's
like
the
we had a
question.
Tyson Goldsack playing. We had a Tyson Goldsack playing who hadn't played a game in, at 9 months or whatever it was. And he played the final series. Like,
it's the age-old question. If Darcy Moore was playing in the grand final, would Sheed have marked that? You know, because Maynard's not. He's a great mark, but I think Darcy Moore's a better mark. He's better at use of the body. You know what I mean? And that's tough. It's tough. You know, it's a tough question to think about.
I just hope going into our next one, whenever we get there, there's no excuses. I just want to. I don't know. I don't know if I can deal with another grand final. Like you said, you know, and for you in your case, you know, 2018 was the
first season we watched it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, this is incredible. What is this? What are the chances?
Yeah, 2010. I remember that day so well. I was 10 years old. We had like 100 people at my house, like all Collingwood supporters. Ridiculous. My dad did a barbecue. I was so scared at the end of the drawn game. I went inside. I started bawling my eyes out because I couldn't believe what was happening. Yeah. I was thinking, how is this happening? I remember sitting inside. I couldn't even look at the TV. I had my eyes, my ears shut. And then I just heard Cloak. Cloak kicked a goal and we went back in front. And then the draw happened. I remember after that game, we all said, all right, see you all next week. We'll go again. It's never easy with Collingwood. And yeah, we ended up winning, by 50 odd points or whatever it was, our biggest grand final win ever. But it's never easy. Even 2011, we were the best team in the comp by a mile. But we told our coach he's leaving at the end of the year. So I don't think we performed as good as we could have. Oh, it's just...
Man, it's tough. I was at the 2018 grand final. Like, I was there.
Yeah, I was there as well.
Yeah, our seats were right next to the West Coast Eagles cheer squad. You know how they break it up, like West Coast Collingwood, West Coast Collingwood?
Yeah.
We were right next to the West Coast cheer squad, right behind the goal. And I was sitting there, right, and the ball, when she kicked it, was just coming right towards us. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. Like, I was sitting like parallel to you. So you would have been, on the right-hand side of the goals. I was on the left-hand side, but I was in the nosebleeds. But that's besides the point. I don't want to speak about that game too much.
No, that was terrifying. It wasn't sad. Yeah. It was just terrifying. Like just watching them blow this lead. I said to Mum at like quarter time, I said, Mum, I'm telling you now, they're not winning this game. They're bad at something's going to happen. They're going to blow the lead. And there you go. They blew the. It never happens in sports like that. No team ever in a grand final goes up that much and keeps the win. It happens. Like Collingwood did it.
Yeah.
But it's rare, It's rare that a team goes up that much and keeps it.
Mate, I think this team, realistically, I think we're playing finals in 2 years and we're challenging for a flag in 5. What are your thoughts? How long are we towards the bottom end of the table? Or, are we outside of the top 8?
It's tough. Again, it's so tough because you can look at Melbourne. 2019, they were 17th. No, 2020, they were 17th. No, 29th to 17th. 2020, 9th. This year, they win the whole thing. So could we do that? 17th this year, which is what we were. 9th or 10th next year in the Granny 2023. I've been saying since after last year's trade period, flag pies 2023, because I've always felt that's going to happen. So I think it's either 2023 or 2026. I agree. It's either coming up really close or it's going to be 5 years. But it's really tough to know. But I do think it's almost impossible. I do think we will be in the top 8 come 2023. Maybe 8th. If we're not in the grand final, we'll be 8th, I think. And we'll stick around then for a couple of seasons. 100%. But 100%. I think we'll definitely be there in 2023 in the top 8. How long
I don't think we're far away. And especially with the way things are going, bringing in the young kids and all the pick swaps that we've done, and we'll be there. I know you and I will be there at the grand final whenever we are there in our In Right We Trust t-shirts.
That's it. I'm still waiting for those shirts, Collingwood.
Mate, I'm waiting for those shirts. Collingwood, I'm going to clip this and post it and tag you. I'm waiting for that In Right We Trust t-shirt. We are both waiting for it, I should say. Could have a whole other episode just about Graham Wright. Absolutely.
What he's done is incredible.
What a guy. What a guy.
He's come in here. He had this mentality coming in here. I don't actually care about it, any of you. I'm going to flip this club and do what I want. There goes Buckley. There goes half the assistant coaching panel. We get rid of some players. We bring in some incredible talent. We're bringing in Nick Dacos and maybe another 2-3 low-end draft picks to build up. We bring in Johnson and Begg. It's ridiculous. He's done all of this in the space of swoop on his banner.
Swoop on his banner. Some guy was spamming the chat. His name's Mr. Luke Sports. So Carson just goes swoops on his banner.
that's definitely swoop on the banner. But yeah, he's just done so much great stuff for this club in a bit over a year, is it?
He came in just after the trade period. So
coming up a year.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We can put everything down to him. If we end up being a success, it'll be him. He's done it before. Collingwood Premiership player, almost a Brownlow medalist, probably should have been. Just awesome.
I think stuff. You can thank Alastair Clarkson for Hawthorn's 3P, but let's be honest here, without Graham Wright, there wouldn't be that side,
Well, there's the team, you know what I mean? It's the team.
Alastair Clarkson built the team.
Yeah.
But Graham Wright's the person who picked the team, who said these are the players, we'll give you these 40 individuals, make a premiership team out of them. Yeah, that's what I think. I think Begg is going to be a defender.
I'm very excited for Aiden Begg too.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. Him a lot. Cool dude. As you said, I should say, I think he's got a lot of potential, and he's grown like Decker again in that interview that I was listening to. Apparently, he's grown like 4 centimeters in the off season because he's only like 18.
Yeah, he's really...
so he's already he was 197 or something. I think he's cracked 200 now, which is great, beautiful. There's another one.
Well, there's the question: do we play him down back or up forward?
I think you got to start developing him as a backman. I think that's our option because we got Krugs. I think Krugs is the long term. He's the one that we're betting on almost. And I see even his highlights. I just see I see Travis Cloak in him. Travis Cloak's my favorite forward that's ever played for Collingwood in my time. Him and Anthony Rocker and Leon Davis is a small forward. Leon Davis is my favorite Collingwood player of all time.
Leon's the one player I wish I could have properly watched because I see his highlights and I'm like, you are just an incredibly talented
He was
player.
Magical, mate. He was he was my favorite player ever. I had the number 1 on the back of every jersey that I ever had. He was just even as a young kid, he'd get me out of my seat. I'd be jumping around that excited to watch him play. But I think he develops as a backman, and I think he's got Justin Lepage coaching him. Sorry, I should say. So.
That's the thing with Will Kelly as well. It's he could really develop any one of these young talents into a defender, like Begg, Kelly, Kane. Who else are we missing? It's Liam McMahon. He's a forward, but you could move him down back because, like you said, Kruger is the person they're banking on. Johnson he's a key forward. He's not going to, be the tallest key forward, but he's a key forward. Cameron as well, Cox, Grundy played forward. Yeah.
If we had had the personnel all those years ago, I think Jeremy Howe, I would have loved to have seen Jeremy Howe as a forward. I think he would have been unreal as a forward, but obviously, he ended up being a backman. But yeah, I just Ash. I literally posted yesterday. I said I'm putting all my stock for this year in Ash Johnson. I hope he sees this because I love him. And I haven't even seen him play yet in person. So, he could be anything, absolutely anything. And again, we haven't had this excitement around players for a really, really long time. You know, we've had the same list, but it's really been rejuvenated. So, yeah, what a time.
There's just been so much added to it. You know, we've just got so much talent now. I think last year we were at this really awkward phase where we just had so much. I don't want to say old, but people who have passed their prime in a sense. You know, like Thomas, I love him. You know, fellow Queenslander. He was like the first player I ever remember learning the name of because I was like, oh, he's from Queensland. There you go. But, you know, he wasn't the best last season. He definitely improved by the end, but he wasn't the best. Will Hoskin, Elliott, Steele. Steele was just another. I don't even know how to describe Steele in season 2021.
Yeah.
Wasn't the best.
Just
but, you know.
Uninspiring.
Yeah, it was so uncharacteristic of him. It's like 2018, 2019, 2020 even. He was so good. And then this year, I don't know what happened. Who knows? It's crazy how this happens. But I think he's in Steele's in the side next year. But yeah, we've got so much great talent coming through. It's exciting. It's really exciting.
Absolutely.
Like I'm really excited for this preseason to see what happens.
Yeah, and I think my 22 will definitely change based on those preseason games that we see. Like it will definitely change. We'll see who comes in, who goes out. We'll see who McRae plays and where he plays them. Like that's another exciting thing. Like we got no idea what's going to happen. We got no idea who's going to be playing.
March series games, we woke up there and Jordan Roughhead's up forward. You know, Ash Johnson's down back. We're like, oh, yeah, all right. In right we trust. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm sure he'll be there the whole way as well.
Yeah.
We're coming up on
we are.
Yeah, we're coming up on an hour. And you know, we'll sign off very soon. If anyone has any comments they want to chuck in, they want us to answer before we head off, do chuck them in now. But mate, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. Like it's been an absolute pleasure having you, and you know, you helped me out along the way. You helped me with my mic and all that stuff. You know, silly little things, but yeah, we haven't even met in person yet. But I can't wait to next year. You know, you, me, a couple of the other guys will, you know, get together, have a beer at the footy, and it'll be fantastic.
Mate, thank you for having me on. It's been an absolute blast. I feel I'm honoured to be the second person on. I remember watching the first one with Swoop and like, oh, this is fabulous. I love listening to it. It was great fun. It's great to be here. So thank you, mate. Loved it.
Nah, absolute pleasure, mate. Yeah, to all the people that are listening live, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for, you know, tuning in for the last hour, listening to us talk our talk. But we really appreciate it. And, you know, to all the listeners on Spotify, thank you for dropping by. If you want to listen to other episodes, they are on Spotify under Magpie Season. You know, just look up the Analytical Pie. Obviously, we've got, you know, other episodes on here. Be sure to check them out. Last thing before we go, this is a question from Sean. Where do you see the AFL and VFL teams finishing next season?
Okay.
It's our last question. This is where I sign off.
Oh, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Okay. The AFL team, I think, if I had to bet, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I'd say we finished 12th this year. I'd say 12th. I think that's realistic. I think it's an improvement. You know, we moved 5 positions up the ladder. I don't think that's bad. And for the VFL, I honestly don't know because we were pushing for like top 4 this year. So I'm just going to go somewhere between 4th and 6th. I couldn't tell you, but that's what I reckon because we got a lot of depth, a lot of good depth.
It's fair. For me, I'd go AFL. I was going to say 11th. So, you know, I think we can definitely reach there. I just think 10 or 11. I can't see us not to be honest. Like 10, 11, 12, I think we'll finish there. 9th would be great.
I think that's our bracket.
Yeah, 9th would be fantastic.
That's our bracket.
But 10, 11, 12. But I think 11. But for VFL, might be bold, but I think 2nd. You know, we were playing really, really well last year. We were. Yeah, and now you've got a side that's going to have. You're going to have an AFL player in your side next year, whoever it might be. You're going to have Cox. I think you'll have Will Hoskin, Elliott. You're going to have so much talent in there. Like I think anything else but second or first is quite upsetting to me. And AFLW, they're winning the flag.
AFL women, they're winning the flag. They are winning the flag. They are fantastic to watch. They are awesome to watch. All right, we'll sign off here. Thanks again, Al, for coming on. Say
thank you, mate.
Goodbye or whatever you need to say to the people.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, Lachie. Have a good one,
mate. All right,
See ya.
easy. See you guys. Take it easy.
Thank you.